back into Studio 5. When a book becomes a favorite read, you want to share it with your best girlfriends. Studio 5 contributor Connie Sokol just put down Love is Letting Go of Fear by Gerald
Jampolsky.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's a name.
It is a name. It's a self-help classic that Connie says has given her a fresh perspective on the fears that sometimes hold us back. She's prompting me from the wings, and she is here to share that new perspective. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I leave the name to you. The title, though, speaks to me a little bit. What's the premise here? What was the aha for you?
Well, the aha for me was that premise that it's all back to two emotions, which is love and fear. And we really do have a choice. And even though things happen to us that we don't have choices maybe about, we can choose our response. And they basically come down to those two. So love will always trump fear if we choose.
And why did this message resonate so deeply with you?
I loved it because I think for me it was very freeing. And it wasn't anything that was so brand new, but just the way he said it made me look at people and look at life and say, I can do this better. I can have more of a love drive on this rather than maybe recognizing fears that I hadn't recognized were a dialogue in my head.
And we oftentimes, when we talk about fear, we often, I think my mind at least goes to the big grand fears that are out there, but there are daily fears that can hold us back.
The ones that I call the pressures that we silently gnaw at our brain and our heart. And again, like those silent things that go on here that we've kind of attached to people, especially ones we love or we work well, you know, continually with, that we kind of imprint on them. And we don't let people sort of still grow and develop. And so this, all from this fear of wanting to do things our way or to make it predictable.
You've identified 3 common fears, everyday fears, and you have solutions to help us all let them go. Fear number 1, the fear of opening ourselves up. I feel like we're getting a little better at this.
Yes, I do. And I love that. I think one of the hardest things is recognizing, he suggests, fear comes from a place of wanting to control and predict. And I think that is so much our lives. I know, raising 7 kids, there is a place for that in the sense of creating structure, so there's predictability. Children thrive on that, and you need that. But then there's this law of diminishing returns, and we end up, the focus becomes the control and the predictability and the preempting of problems so that we won't have more stress. And like, I have a son that's graduating right now, and I'm thinking of all the things that need to be done. And really, I realize what it's coming from is this fear of it's not going to get done. And instead pulling that back. And so I did kind of a little experiment with this, and it was so funny, realizing how often there's this backlog when I'm talking to them, instead of it just being this one experience.
What do you mean by backlog?
Backlog meaning, like, if my son has forgotten a lot of things, then the next thing I'm talking to him, I've already got this backlog behind it. So if he's not remembered to do it, there's all of this fear and emotion that's going to come up. Instead of just taking it that one experience at a time and infusing it with love.
So he forgets to do something, in the back of your head, you're thinking, I haven't raised a responsible son. He doesn't have his act together. When really it's this
Is he going to forget? Is he going to graduate? Is he going to walk? Is he going to, you know, all of it? It's just one little thing. But we moms, I notice this when I'm talking with women. Before you know it, we've magnified it. Sort of like when you were dating and like you meet this guy and then after 15 minutes you're already planning children's names, you know? I mean, we kind of jump and magnify instead of coming from a place of love.
So how has it worked for you then to practice this new isolated?
I did this and it was wonderful. I practiced with this feeling of love and openness. I said, I'm just going to greet the day with love and openness. Oh my gosh, how much I didn't realize the weight of the day before I even started of things that need to be done because of this worry of what if it doesn't get turned in or done or whatever. And I have felt so free. And then making judgments. Patricia T. Holland, author, beautiful, wonderful woman, she did this experiment and she shared, she's very careful about not verbalizing judgments about others. She's very good about that. But she said she did this experiment and couldn't believe how many times she thought it, which for her was probably like once or twice. I mean, she's amazing. But how often this is all happening up here, and that's the lens that we see people and respond to people through with this energy behind it that they're like have no idea.
But just being open.
But being open, and that being open has made me feel so free. I find myself laughing more.
I love it.
And I look at the day, what's this day going to bring, rather than before the day starts.
The anticipation. I love that. I can totally resonate with this. This next fear, you told my producer, is a fear you silently worry about, which totally shocked me. The fear of being a bad parent.
Oh yeah, of not teaching them what they need to know, not preparing them for life that's coming ahead. Those things, that fear kind of weaves through. And what's interesting is when I talk to most women, that is a core fear that drives a lot of what they do. And instead we can pull back and say, am I doing what I need to be doing? Am I doing it the best way that I can do? And the thing that's really resonated, this hit me so hard the other day, was they just need our love. Not just the neighbors, or the teachers, or the school, or the church leader, but our particular built-in parenting love that comes with us. Even if it's not perfect and it's inadequate, it's still, that's what they need. And this thought came that what they need is our interest, not Pinterest, and being present and not giving presents. Not that presents are bad, sorry.
I love it.
But that feeling of, oh my gosh, of just being with them and being in their world and seeing from their perspective and enjoying and laughing like we were dipping strawberries, like I was put on, and they were horrible. We were laughing our heads off. It was wonderful and magic. That's the kind of love we don't have to stress.
At my baby shower, I remember they passed around that advice book, right? Which is so treasured. I welcomed any and all advice. But one dear woman very close to me put, "It's already inside of you." That was her advice. And I loved it. Because that love is there, and that really, you're right, is all they need at the end.
You're the perfect parent for them.
A fear of success is something that you feel women struggle with.
Yes, definitely. And it's funny, it's usually with women, but there's the worry that if I'm successful at something else, will I sacrifice my family or good things or skew my perspective?
You had an experience with this recently.
Yes, well, this is all valid. Those are all valid points, and I've had them for years. But again, that law of diminishing returns, where we focus on that too much. Recently, you know, I've written for years and with my left toe, and everything's been with my left toe. And I kind of dropped in my lap this national interest in my writing, and it freaked me out. Like I had to take this back step, and I was like, oh, but, and all of these fears.
You've already been doing it for years, but something about that opportunity,
something about this that was bigger than life. And I was like, oh, wow, what will this do? How this upset things? And my initial reaction was to go small, was to say, well, you know, maybe not. But it doesn't serve any of us, like Marianne Williamson says, to be smaller. What we can do is, as we shine the way we need to, a real true shine, it's a true path that we'll find. Instead of, with fear, we'll go down these other ones that we aren't really to go. So if we can just be genuine and not fear, we'll go down the place we need to.
Quickly, this last point, 30 seconds, a fear of fear.
A fear of fear. You know, I think that's the thing that keeps us from serving, from doing and loving. We just talked about this in our program, serving openly and just spontaneously. When we fear what people's responses are going to be, that fear, I think, stops us from being who we genuinely are. So analyze, identify that fear, and then move forward in joy and faith.
I love your heart, Connie. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Where can we get more of your insight?
Website, and we have 2 for $20 Mother's Day special. The fun book and the inspirational book, together she will be filled, little chocolate. So 2 for $20.
ConnieSokol.com is where we'll send you and take advantage of that 2 for $20 book deal for Mother's Day. We'll be right back.